Hello and welcome to the Car Care Nut channel, and welcome to the Lexus IS300 that isn't. This is a Toyota Altezza. It's a JDM car from Japan. It is steering wheel on the wrong side, the right side, however you want to look at it. However, this car everywhere else is an IS300 in the US except under the hood. Let's take a look, and I almost walked this way to open the hood. I have to go the opposite way. This car has a turbocharged BEAMS 3S GE. Very cool engine. Folks, this is as cool as they come from Japan. We never got this engine in the US, unfortunately. And if you look right here, the reason it is cool, because it was co-developed with Yamaha. This is the most modern iteration of the 3S. And in today's video, we're gonna do something, a little bit out there. We're gonna do a timing belt on this engine and a valve cover gasket. Full disclosure, two things. Never done one on these. Done one on the old 3S, so I'm hoping it's very similar, although it's a lot more modern than that. Second thing is, this one is turbocharged, and it's a modification turbocharger. So let's get into it, and we'll see what happens here. Wish us luck right after this. Yeah, I gotta show you this. So I just took the radiator cap off. What is going on in here? That is disgusting. Look at that fluid. It's all rusty, crusty color. That looks horrible. I mean, I wish we had a radiator for this, but yeah. Let's put it up and we'll see what we're dealing with here. Okay, well, let's take a look around this thing before we start. Teen suspension. This one actually has a small leak from this shop. Not a huge leak, small one. But these are really good, folks, for older Lexus and Toyota models. They're adjustable, they're high quality. This one, same thing. This one actually is a bigger leak. You can see it at the top. The boot is wet at the top. Not terrible. Tires usually are a big thing with JDM cars because they've been sitting forever. No, it's a fresh tire. It's the end of 23. Lots of wet spots. An oil pan. Just a little bit of oil. Nothing over the top. Well, okay, I take that back. Come see this. There's a lot of oil leaks here. We'll take this cover in a second and show you. But I want to see. Oh yeah, this is all the valve cover, folks. Come see it from here. This is all the way at the top where the valve cover is. So, manual transmission on this car. This side is not so, a little bit at the top. You can't really see it, it's hard. But everything in the suspension looks like brand new brakes. Everything's tight on this side. Everything's tight here. Rack's not leaking. That's good. Pretty clean, rust-free, which is good. But this mount looks brand new. I mean, it definitely looks cleaner than the rest of it. I think this has been replaced at some point. Exhaust, a little bit of rust on this one, but nothing over the top. This pipe, I'm assuming they had to replace. Yeah, this is definitely aftermarket for the turbo swap. Very clean in the back. Fuel tank straps look good. Diff, seepages, not too crazy. Let me just check that vent. Barely get to it. Yeah, vent is clear. Folks, every time you have a diff like this, I always reach up and make sure that vent is free. Vent is right there. All the way up there. I'll point at it in editing. Right there. Let's look at the rear here. It's pretty standard IS300s rear end. Nothing over the top about it. CV axle's not leaking. See pictures from this rear diff. How about these rear teens? They seem good. They're not leaking. Sway bar bushings. Links, good. Brakes in the rear are new. Literally brand new. I think he just did it before. Overall, I mean, I like everything I'm seeing. It's really in good shape other than the leaks, which we are addressing some of them. Let's pull this cover off. This cover has been modified. Here. I am none of these clips are the right clips, except maybe this one, which came out. The other two didn't even hold anything. Just gonna replace them. There's a lot of room here. That's what I'll tell you. Because a version of the Altezza could have a 2JZ. This one has the beams, which means you have a lot of space here. I love this. They used to do this in the older Toyotas. You'd have a little drain. Well, let's start by draining the coolant, which I am extremely interested in how that's gonna look. Is it gonna just look wrong one? Really interested in how this coolant is gonna look like. Is it just gonna come out as coffee color? Assuming that is gonna be the case. Let's find out, shall we? Okay. That is not a good sign. I'll tell you that much. That means this is clogged. Ho ho ho. Oh my God. Yeah, that's not good at all, folks. This is just sludge. Do you see that sludge? Oh my God. This is horrible. Yeah, this radiator is not gonna fly, folks. We're gonna have to get this car a radiator. I mean, so and try to clean it up. Hopefully it'll start draining, but I don't think it'll drain anything. I mean, I don't think this coolant's ever been replaced, or they filled this radiator. Oh, there it goes. Oh my God. Yeah, we are definitely pulling this radiator and just not going back in this car. That's for sure. Oh my God. This is horrible. That's what happens when you don't maintain your car, or worse, you put water in it. Don't put water in your car. That's a bad idea. Well, we're gonna let this thing come down. I'm gonna go and see, hopefully, well, if you're the owner of this car, you probably already know about it because this video will come out much later when we're done with this, but hopefully this has an IS300 radiator. Let me go do some research and find out. So she's almost done. I mean, I don't know if we got clogged with sludge again. It's been going for a pretty good while. I do have bad news, unfortunately. This is not an IS300 radiator. It's actually a special order one. So the owner of this car, we've already talked, but this car is going to have to stay here for potentially up to a month until we get a radiator from Japan. It's just welcome to working on JDM cars in the US. But in the meantime, I am going to pull this radiator out. We're not going to keep this 1 second more in this car. It will be a crime to do that. So here's what I'll do. I'm gonna get my big, I call this the mess tray. This is how we try to keep the shop clean. Does have a little bit of coolant from a previous job. Usually let it fill up a little bit more before we empty it. It's kind of a finicky thing to empty. And I'm gonna take the slower radiator hose. Try to take it from the other side. It's kind of buried. Just take it from here. Get some of that sludgy mess out. I like that the hoses are Oh, that came right up. Cool. Hoses are good. And it has the right clamp. See how much sludge is going to come out of here. Yeah. That is horrendous, is the word for this. Okay. Let this drip. Leave this hose here. All right. I think that's all I need to disconnect from here. So that's good. Let's bring her down and see what we see here. All right. Let's get her covered up. We'll start. I don't think I need much covers beyond the front. I think we'll be doing anything from the sides. So, we have this interesting sensor here, which goes right here. Oh no, that's an OEM sensor. Oh, I wonder what this is for. Fortunately, we're going in blind here. We're not super familiar with this car. So, it's a Toyota. So, dare I say it? Should I say it? What do you say, Jose? Should I say it? How bad can it be? So far, it's starting up very, very bad. But nothing that can't be fixed. Let's get this upper radiator hose out. Okay, that's not going. This one is. Let's negotiate a little bit. I don't know, folks. I don't know about this. I think we're gonna have to get hoses. And this one is an original hose, but they cut it for this sensor. So we might have to do the same. Oh yeah, this is this is not looking good. Get the engine cover off. Oh, these are Torx. Cool. They look like the 5mm variety. They are not. Yes, they are. What do we have here? Is it a wrong bolt? No, it's the same thing, so why is it not going? What's going on here? Oh, there is no bolt. Okay. I was looking at it from the side. Looks like there was a bolt, but there isn't. You have these two. This part, these two bolts on the side, it's kind of like the 2J. A little bit. Of course. Very cool. Huh. You know what this reminds me of, this harness? And the setup of the harness? It reminds me of, what was that motor? Corolla motor. I forgot the name of it. God help me right now remember it. 1.6 1ZZ. That's what this reminds me of right now. This setup right here. Simple setup. We'll see how this goes. There's this little ring that goes around this. So I'm gonna make sure we don't mix these up. You have to find a bolt that fits that cover. Okay, so now start working on this thing. This looks like it just has a 10 over here. That's what I call the hot air intake. Are you an 8mm? Yeah. Close enough. I think you are. Favorite or least favorite clamp in the world. Okay, I think It is ready. This is a mass airflow engine. Okay, here's the hot air intake. I'm curious about this turbo. It has a little bit of play, but I don't think that's a problem. A little bit of oil, nothing crazy. I don't see wet oil. That looks pretty good. I wonder what the manufacturer this is. Doesn't say anything on it. I like this housing. It has like this machining. Pretty cool. Okay, let's see. What else are we gonna have here? Let's take the fans out. Ooh, this is crusty. Have to be very careful with these. This wire is extremely crusty. For the fan, and this one is good. Oh, this is just like the others. They have this little vent. This actually cools the fuse block or body ECU, external body ECU. This one here. I think this radiator now is ready to come out. Yeah, this radiator is not gonna fly. We gotta get him a new one. Let's dig in and see what else we find so we can order parts once, not keep going back and forth. This is definitely in. Whoa, look at this. Now I can see inside. This is like flakes and stuff. Yeah, this radiator's done. We're not gonna trust this radiator for anything. My favorite part is this is a turbocharged car. So not originally turbocharged. This is like modified to be a turbocharged car. This is what I always see with modified cars. You know, you modified the car, you did all that, but you couldn't change the coolant. I see this all the time. Folks, for the modifying crowd out there, please hear me out. Before you go modify your car, make sure the original state of the car is healthy. Not go modifying a car that needs a repair. That's not a good idea. Remove this dipstick completely. Feel like it's in my way. But again, might not be. Dipstick O-ring ripped. Hoping that it's just a standard O-ring, nothing special. So we have this wire harness right here. It's right in the middle of our way. There's a 10 here. Wonder if we really have to move it out of our way. I feel like we don't have to. Like if we just take this 10. And this 10. This little, I don't know if this bracket was part of that. I think it is. It's broken. This may give us enough space. Is this a tensioner? Oh, and it's loose. Cool. Somebody left it loose. Do you see that bolt? This is the bolt that adjusts that tensioner. Right there. The turbo thing is right away. I think if we loosen, this is like a 3rd gen 4Runner is like that. You loosen this pulley, it should. Yeah, I already loosened the belt. Somebody didn't tighten it. They just used the pry bar to tighten the belt because they couldn't reach it. There's this belt. Yeah. It's not terrible, but I did get new ones. So folks, if you have JDM cars, here's the best way. Take this number. This is actually the kind of style of the belt and the length. You can actually just match this number. It doesn't matter which car it comes from. Just get the same number, you have the same belt. So that's how we've been doing JDM cars, to find the right belts. Unless you're ordering them from Japan, and it doesn't really matter anymore. But so now you gotta get the alternator belt. This is loosen the bottom. This belt is really bad. It's like horrendous. And then here's the tensioner. Feels like a 12. Let's loosen this guy if I can get to it. Right here. I didn't see this one. That should do it, but eyes are not moving. Ah, there we go, it moved. Yeah, now this belt, yeah, you got a belt like that, please replace it. Same thing, number. So the numbers, the 4 is 4 ribs. See, there's 4 ribs here. PKM, actually, I forgot what it was. I looked it up once, but the last 3 numbers or 4 numbers is the length of the belt. That's really what matters. Now, I still want to get my harness off, but it looks like this is a lot easier said than done. So I'm voting we don't do that. I am voting we move the crank sensor going right here. Yes, there is a crank sensor. It's in the way of my bolts. I don't want to move this wire because it's like a rock. Oh, it came out. Oh, there we go. This bolt has a bracket. Okay, I'm going to try to remove this cover without moving this harness. This harness is very, if you ask me, a ridiculous spot. Like, come on, guys, just run them on top of the engine. Let's see. I'm actually going to get a magnetic socket. That'll work better. Are you not a 10? That should be a 10. Oh no, it's a 12. Okay, all right. We can work around that. Let's see. Are you a 12? Okay, you're not a 10, you're not a 12. So what are you? In a Japanese car. Let's try it again. Oh, you're just a stubborn 10. Like this bracket's gonna fall. Technically, I only have one more bolt. Can't seem to reach. Technically, oh, there's one more here. That's why I'm trying to say, technically that should be the front cover, but seems like we're wrong. Ah, this is the clamp. Okay. Something's, oh, there's a bolt hidden here. Huh. Now this cover should come out. Gotta be gentle. All right. Now we are making progress. It's a really cool cover. What does it say here? Oh, it's just, it's production stickers. Cool. And they tell you right here, replace every 100,000 kilometers. Hopefully that's what it says. If you're Japanese, you'll let us know, right? Okay, that's the first part of the maze. Now, we want to set it at top dead center, which I see clear mark here. This is something with the Yamaha engines. They're usually very clear. Mark here. Mark here. I see two cutouts in the gear. And I'm just going to clean this up a little bit. Here's the 0 mark right here. Our crank looks very close. It's a 19. Good. Went too far. Doesn't matter, folks, to turn it back because we're doing the timing anyways. Okay. Well, here's something I don't like. Is this engine out of time to begin with? See how this one is like exactly on, or it's slightly past, but this one feels like it's a tooth off. This one. Unless we are not at a perfect 0. We're slightly past, so I'm going to go back. Now this one is straight on. This one is not. I'm gonna go ahead and say that this timing belt is off. Here's what I usually do with engines that I've never worked on with timing belts, because we're going completely on our own here. That's unfortunately the downside of working with JDM cars sometimes. I'm gonna take a picture of this. So I'm going to try to get it. Now this picture shows completely different. That's a problem with cameras. They don't show you the true depth. Yeah, this one is, you know, just for reference. Keep that for reference. Now, let's get our crank pulley off. So hopefully it doesn't give us a fight. If it does, I didn't think that was going to happen. Let's see. Yes, that was not a fight at all. I was just curious. Usually 19 mil bolts on Toyotas, you can take them out with a tiny gun. Not this one. Kind of deploy our little puller as I figure out the thread of these. No. Yes. Here's my very old Craftsman puller. I'm not going to have enough space. Man. This one is on there. I know it's been off before because I saw a timing belt sticker, but it's been a while, it looks like. So I see the rust on the nose of the crank, and that's how you know this thing hasn't been apart in a while. And not a big deal, we'll clean it. Now we move on to the bottom cover. Should have a series of 10s. See, one here, one here. Okay, let's just get the gun and let's do this. We're at the no return point. Did I remove any bolts that I did not have to remove? Gotta make sure. So 1, 2, 3. Yes. I did remove a bolt that I didn't have to remove. So, I think I see it. Yes, here it is. So this little guide, it just sits there. So the 1MZ, 3MZ will have the same guide. I'll just leave it here. Cool. Actually, not cool. Pull this out. Usually I leave this here. Gotta install it before you go back. Now that we got to this point, let's take a look. Lots of oil leaks. The majority of them is possibly from the cam seal, which we're going to attempt to replace here. These PBTI gears, though, we'll see what we can do, if it is even possible. This is a very strange contraption of a tensioner. I see the tensioner right here. See, we're going to try to crank on this guy, see if that pushes the tensioner in, then we'll pin it, get it out. Otherwise, I wonder what this is. Balance shaft? This may be a balance shaft. This is an idler. Here's a water pump. But I wonder if this is another idler, I think. This one I think is a balance shaft. I'm going to have to do some research on that to make sure. But let's see if we can get this tensioner to budge here. Because that's the contraption part. I haven't seen that set up before. So when you work on something you've never worked on, you're kind of going into the unknown. Always tackle what is strange to you. No, that's not going to work like that. Unless it's the other way. No, that feels like it's stretching it the other way. No. So, trying to figure this, I mean, if I just take it out, I have a new one. That's trick number 2. If you have a new part, go look at it. Okay. This is not the pivot point of this. Well, the way I see it is, I'm just going to take this bolt and it'll just come apart. And when we install this, it'll be fine. Because I don't need to reinvent the wheel. And that's the wrong size. But take this idler. Oh, this is the cool part. This is a sliding idler. Gotta remember this part very nervously. Here's another sliding idler. No, this one is not a sliding idler. Okay. That is still under tension. So I'm going to remove the other idler. Let's see. That gives us a little bit more room. Yep, there it goes. Just lost tension. So now this should, yes, it's moving. I noticed something very strange. Do you see how the belt goes through the tensioner? That's strange, and this thing doesn't want to slide out. Oh, I see why it doesn't want to slide out. It's stuck here. There it goes. The belt's still kind of tight. Pull it completely off. Now it should slide right out. There we go. Okay, so this is not a crazy tensioner. Strange, but not crazy. It's such a weird setup. So the idler is in the back, and the tensioner sits like this, and it pushes this whole thing to push the idler in. Very cool. This is an original one, so if you didn't know, Toyota timing belt tensioners are made by a company called NTN, which is what we have here. Same thing. So, gonna leave this on the side. Now the next disaster is gonna be the cam seals and the water pump. Now, just by looking at this appears to be the same setup water pump as a 5S, where you can just replace the water pump. Ooh, this water pump has a lot of play, see that? It's a play. Anyways, or we can replace the entire housing or just the pump, but we do have these. I think there should be another one somewhere. Oh no, just the one. Let me see the pump that we got. Fortunately, parts for these are like scarce for some reason. This is the only pump we were able to get. Here's the gasket and the stuff, and it's just the pump. So we must extract this screw. We must, because that's all we have. We have to get that screw out, which I know from experience that is a rarity. So we're gonna try to get this screw out. We're gonna start hard negotiations. Let me just see, make sure this is in the right direction. I feel like we're removing a Honda rotor right now. Let's see. So, operation is not going very well. Operation went successfully, folks. Wow, I can't believe we actually got this out. This is maybe the first one, the 5S. No matter what you do, this will never come off. This one came off. Very cool. Is all it does. It doesn't even seal anything. It just stands in our way and makes a mess. So I just realized this is the oil pump. Wow, this is such an interesting thing. I forgot this is an S motor. This is the oil pump, folks. I was saying it's a balance shaft. Like, what's wrong with me? I think I even have seals for that. I looked at the diagram of this engine before we ordered parts for it. That's an oil pump. We're going to remove that as well. But for now, let us remove our water pump. We can see how ugly things look underneath there. I think I got them all. One way to find out. Yes. It's moving. Just gotta find the right angle to give it a nudge. Oh, there goes the coffee. There goes the horrendous coolant. And this thing is on there. Just make sure we're not missing anything. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. So, this goes through it, I am sure. Yes, it does. See that part? Compressor goes through this pump. That's going to be interesting. Well, we got this far. Let's see what happens if we do this. Yes, I saw that pump move a lot. I think we're gonna be successful with this. I think I'm gonna slide it out design. I'm going to pull the compressor out. I'm going to open the can for him. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen at all. This is very just finest engineering. Why do you set the water pump underneath the... Yeah, there's no way. See, the problem is I can't slide this water pump because it probably has a guide to line it up. Unless we don't have a guide, it's just being stuck. Yeah, it has to have a guide. Let's go back to the drawing board. I believe this is a guide. No, this is a bolt. No, actually, this is not a bolt. Not a guide. I don't think this has a guide. I think it's just stuck. Okay. So what happens when I do this? Now let's just attach it to this. Really don't want to remove this compressor. Yeah, I think it's just stuck. I'm gonna give it one last attempt before we change gear, start going after the compressor. This is not even moving. It's coming out, but the problem is, how are we going to put it in? Cross that bridge when we get to it. No, I don't like this. This is not going well. Gotta do this right. No. You cannot get this guy out. Gotta pull the compressor down. This is a brilliant design, I just gotta say that. I mean, if we just didn't have that little tab, we would be okay. Now we gotta pull the compressor down. So let's go up and see how much does that entail. Okay, I see two bolts. I'm going to remove this panel. Let's remove this panel. There's one bolt here. One bolt here. Now let's take a look. What do we got? We have actually, should be 4 bolts. Well, technically one of them is right there. 4 bolts, yes. This one I can access. Yeah, I think this is actually not terrible. Wow, it's an old school oil pressure switch. Look at this guy. They used to have it, this giant oil pressure switch right here. This guy. I think a 7M motor I got sitting over there has the same thing. There's only one way forward, and that is forward. Feels like an oil change on this bolt. That's a lot of oil. The thing is coated with oil. Okay, these are the easy bolts. I shouldn't have done it that way. Now the harder ones. Problem is I have stuff in my way that I think part of the turbo kit engineer contraption here. Get to that. Come on it. Let's gotta see if she wants to budge. Yep. It's too long of an extension. Too short of an extension. You gonna meet halfway? Let's meet halfway. Hey, I'm barely on it. That's what worries me. That's not gonna happen. Plan W coming up. Okay. Progress. Okay, that's good. Now the last one, which is, you know, when I tell you don't leave the hardest thing for last, it's exactly what I did here. Actually, this may not end up being that hard. There is a bolt right here. That went. Oh, the socket is stuck on it. Come on. There we go. That is a very long bolt. I don't know if we're going to be able to get it. Let's see. Oh, the radiator hose is in the way. I mean, they gave you all this space in the front, and then they just jammed everything on the corner here. I think, let's lower the car. Let's see if we can get to better access to that bolt from the top. Just need to push the hose. So, that bolt is right here, which I am trying to remove, which actually holds this idler on. Which now I am wondering, what if I remove this pulley? And see if I can get that bracket to start moving, because that's what's holding this. Well, there's two bolts here. Okay. One. And yes. I can see. We can kind of sort of. There we go. Well, we didn't really do much because that was the compressor. Okay, this was the bolt I was finding all this time. It just goes through here and through the compressor. This is just the tensioner for the belt that somebody didn't tighten. They just kind of jammed the tensioner and tightened the pulley. You're not supposed to do that. So this was sitting like this, not tight, because this is what you use to adjust the tension on the belt. Now that we got that, which I was really hoping they are one piece, they are not. You see how the compressor is now loose, but the bracket that holds it to the block is not. And I wonder what kind of bolts this has. I feel one here, probably one at the bottom. Now the compressor's in the way, and this compressor, the lines are, where are the lines? Oh, they're on the top. That's not good. How are we going to get to the other ones? That's all I need. I need to move this bracket, not the compressor. I have to remove the compressor in order to see the bolts for the bracket, in order to remove it. I see, or don't see, I feel, one bolt all the way at the back. Let me spend some time finding this bracket, and when we get it, we'll get back to filming, because I feel like we're going to be here for a while. I got the bracket loose, folks. Look at this. Look at what decided to fall off. Water pump. So this bracket is loose. I don't really need to remove it. Actually, I'm looking at this. This is not terrible. This is not terrible at all. I expected it to be a lot worse. I don't feel sludge. We're definitely going to have to go in and replace that thermostat, which is a little bit of a nightmare because of the Mr. Turbo over there. That's a conversation, I guess, for another day. Let's first get the radiator. But this doesn't look as bad. So that's good. Does this say ASIN on it? No. JMB. Same brand that I have. Good. That's out. So now, I am thinking, let us install our new water pump so we're done with coolant, so we can clean it. And then we'll move on to the cam seals and the oil pump and all that other good stuff. And the valve cover. So I'm gonna clean this up a little bit. And follow it up with some Scotch-Brite. Let's clean it up a little bit. Haha, look at this. I just discovered this. Look what they send you with the gasket. I get it open. So here's a gasket. That's simple. Isn't that a tiny little screw? That is pretty cool. Now, these two O-rings, I don't know what's the point of them. I mean, from a 5S, this looks like the O-ring that goes against the block. But we are not removing that one because we're not removing the entire housing. So I am assuming that you don't need to do that. And they gave you some instructions. And yeah, it's, yeah. That doesn't look like our water pump. But you guys should love cool and help. You love these Japanese drawings there. Saying something. I just, fortunately, all that effort they put into this, I have no clue what they're saying, so in this regard, I'm just gonna do this the good old American way. Wing it and hope for the best. Isn't that what we do? I'm particularly happy with this little gasket here. Better than nothing. Find the bolts for this water pump. So 2 of these bolts are long, 2 are short, 3 are long. Uh-oh, that's not good. Okay, see, this is how you know this. Just see the bore of the bolt. See how these 3 have a deeper bore than these. These you can see the thread, these 3 you can't. So, these are the long bolts. I'm going to start one of them. It's one of the short ones. Okay, so this is not working. Okay, maybe we'll plan W already. Start with the long ones. All right. Well, we're definitely making progress here. Slow, but steady. That's good. Now, this is not going to come off. Out comes the puller again. Let's see what we can make out of this guy. Oh. Is this not the right bolt? Thought it was. No, it's not. So this is actually quite a bit later. We ran into a complication. This guy is seized. Doesn't want to come out. Never pry these because you'll break these teeth right here. And this is where the crank sensor reads. Problem is, almost all Toyotas, this is an M6 by 1. This particular one is an M5 by 0.8. So I had to actually grind one of my bolts, re-tap it, and now we're going to try to see if this guy comes out. I am really nervous about this because, I mean, that's a tiny, tiny thread, and there is absolutely no strength in this. So let's see what happens here if this actually ends up working. I don't have high hopes, but trying to stay positive here. Hopefully this works. And not use power tools because we got very compromised. Give it as much thread as possible to give it strength. When you get into these tiny bolts, there isn't much strength. So I usually use, we had to fabricate this to do this. Got a good grip. Let's hope the bolt doesn't snap. This is a high strength bolt, so we're hoping this works. Yeah, the crank's starting to turn. Man, this guy is on there. I don't want to do that either. Well, we're gonna hold the engine from turning. I think if we use the timing belt, hold it. Now, completely improvising right now because this is becoming a problem. And I just went to see if this crank pulley is something shared where we can. Oh man. This thing is not going, folks. I am now, at the moment, there is no way to hold that. There's only one way for it. That's usually why we use the impact. Because this is faster than you turning the engine. Let's see. It's coming. Let me get this out of the way. Yes. Oh my God, I can't believe this actually worked. So, what is going on, Toyota? Why do you change stuff on us without notice? So I guess now, if you would like a special tool for removal of this sprocket on a 3SGE beams, we have made one. Doesn't look very pretty, but hey. We're not about pretty, we're about what works. That was nerve-wracking. And if you're wondering why we are removing this, crank seal is right there. That's why we're removing this thing. Look at the amount of rust that there is on the crank surface right here. That is unbelievable. Hey, we got it. Oh my God, this was nerve-wracking. See, if you put any screwdriver behind here and pry, these teeth will immediately break. Ask me how I know that. Any US car, this breaks, this thing is very inexpensive. Not a big deal. Just get it out, get a new one, we're done. This is available. It's close to $100 with shipping and everything. Not a huge deal, but it's going to be probably a month out. We were already with the radiator trying to figure this out. I don't want to, this bill we want to always try everything. Really happy we got it out. We're good. If this ever happens to you, here's what you do to prevent it from happening again. Although you leave this timing belt too long, it's gonna happen. There's no way around it. Take Scotch-Brite. I'm gonna polish this. Now this one is an extreme case. It's gonna take quite a bit. So I'm gonna work on this now. And then get my seal, get done with this, put it back. Because that's why the crank pulley also needed a puller. There we go. It feels much better. Now, the pulley itself, the sprocket itself, same thing with the crank pulley, you can go and clean the inside of these. This is much better now. Smooth surface. let me pop that crank seal. We'll replace it before we attempt anything else. I don't think this crank seal's been off since this car is new. From the way it feels, it's like handling a rock. It is like a rock. Yeah, I don't think this guy was sealing anything. Literally, like the rubbery parts are all stiff and hard, and yeah, this is done. Let's install our new crank seal. By the way, this crank seal was a US crank seal, so I don't recall which car it was for, but it is something you can get. So, okay, that looks good. Let's try it, see what happens. I don't like this already. It needs more cleaning. This usually comes out by hand. You don't have to do anything to it. It literally comes out by hand. This one, not happening. Let's try this again. Yeah, I don't think this is going to happen. We're going to have to persuade it in. First of all, you don't want to use any power tools here. There we go. So our problem, I'm assuming, see that? This is how it's supposed to be. Our problem is this dowel. As soon as we got past it, it went fine. Although initially our problem was there, but now it's here. So we're gonna clean this dowel a little bit later. But for now, let's remove the oil pump so you get the seals. Oil pump is right here. Just like this looks exactly like a 5S motor. Just stop. There it goes. There it is. We have some oil drip. All right. So here's what you do on these. There's this O-ring. It's not going to look like an O-ring, but that's what they call it in the manual. This sits right here. These love to leak on these motors. This tiny little seal. And then there is another seal behind this pulley, which we're going to take out right here. That's to seal the oil pump. And actually there's the other piece of the oil pump sits still in there. Pull it out so you can see it. So here's an oil pump. If you've never seen an oil pump, this is how it works. This outside is stationary. Now right now it's moving, but normally it's stationary, and this moves inside of it. So every time you have oil here, you squish it, it pressurizes it and kind of pushes it, forces it out. That's how a gasoline engine oil pump works, in case you didn't know that. Let me replace these seals and we'll continue. We're gonna leave this here. Let's get the seal out. Now, here's how I've always done this. Some folks will not agree with this. That's okay. But I just hold this with my hand with a rag and take this 12. This comes from the 5S days. Now that I need my 12, I'll never find it. Here it is. Yes, that's a 12. There it is. So here's what you got here. So you have a 5S engine, it's exactly the same. 3S in any configuration. You have this seal right here. So I'm gonna pop the seal out. Yeah, that's never been off. Usually these pop right out. There we go. I don't think the seal's been out. Here's that new O-ring. You find, there it is. This is, again, most of this stuff is US stock, because I looked up the parts from the manual, and whatever is US available, we got it. So we're gonna have to tap the seal in. It's in. This has like a slit, if you see it, there's like a flat part. Flat part goes on the stem, like so. Tighten this guy up. That's it. Now, just give it a quick wipe. I'll clean it up when it's in the car with everything else. Let's give it back a quick clean. Let's give the part in the car. So here's where Toyota technicians are heavily divided every time we did a 5S. This has an alignment mark. And some folks say if you don't do this, they won't run right, whatever. The people that have not done this, nothing happened. So, yeah. Because as soon as you put it on, it's going to move off alignment. So I don't think it matters too much. So they don't tell you anything about that in the manual. So now this O-ring, here comes the interesting part. This O-ring is such a mess to install it. That it's like such a flimsy O-ring that it never wants to stay. And this O-ring is not correct unless I am putting it upside down. Yes, I am. It just never wants to sit in place. And you're gonna find out later that it fell off. So here's what I usually do. Put a little bit of grease, the edges, it's just silicone grease. Just to hold it in place. Otherwise it'll keep falling and falling, and you'll put it on, it'll look fine, and you start the car, it's just raining oil. See, it loves to do that. This is why they leak, because it's such a tiny little seal. O-ring. They call it O-ring. It's, you know, O-ring is the O shape. This one is not the O shape. I think that is good. Here you also have two bolt lengths. The long ones, you'll be able to tell immediately because they go all the way. See this one that sticks out? That's a short one. This one goes in. It's a long one. And it's self-explanatory. Because short ones won't reach. Long ones will be sticking out way too much. Sure, this one is a long one. So is this one? No, that's a short one. The rest of my bolts. It's one short, one long. And with that, we're gonna park this part of this, I guess I would say series, but it's yeah, let me know if you guys, this is something I always want you guys to tell me. I read comments, I try my best to respond. It's very difficult, but I do read comments, so you guys are gonna have to let me know. Do you want a 2-hour video showing the whole thing from beginning to end, or do you want parts? We're gonna try in parts right now, because some of you have mentioned our video is too long. I understand, but I always feel like I want to see the whole thing through in one video. That's just how I like to watch videos, but seems like some of you like to see it, so we can vary it, so everybody would get what their heart desires, if you would. So we're gonna stop this part right here. Next episode, we're gonna actually take out the VVTi gears, do the cam seals, which means we're gonna take the valve cover off, get everything back together to a point where we're waiting for the radiator. I'm gonna investigate the thermostat, because we do have to get that. I am not sending this car with this thermostat with this horrible sludge, although it actually doesn't look as bad on the inside, which is usually the case. Usually the radiator takes the brunt of things. But we're gonna start to assemble everything but the radiator, because I think this radiator will take up to a month. If you're the owner of this car, sorry, gotta fix the car right, not get it done quickly. So folks, thank you so much for joining us on the adventure into the unknown. That's what I'll try to call this the series here. But so far so good. We had a few hurdles, but things are going well. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for the next part of this mini series that we got going on here. And until the next video, folks, may the Lord bless you and keep you, and you have yourself a wonderful day.